This is a Calculus 1 video. We're looking at derivatives and limits, and this is an explanation of the tangent line. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. Let's just grab a random function. So let's start out with f of x being equal to x squared minus 2. So I just randomly picked that one. And let's say we want to find the tangent line at 3. So now this point's actually got to be on the line, so we need to figure out what its y value. So let's plug it into the function, and we'll get 7 out. So let's say we want to find it at 3, 7. Okay, well, I'm just going to sketch out a graph of that function. And now we're going to take our point 3, 7. So here's 3. Corresponds up to a height value here of 7. And so now what I'm going to do is, okay, so that's an arbitrary point. Well, that's not arbitrary. That one's fixed. But we're going to grab an arbitrary point next to it right here. And we're going to draw a line between those guys. Okay, so let's first determine what this guy's x value and y value here. So we're going to go over a distance which we'll just call delta x. And so that means that the x value that we're going over to must be 3 plus delta x. So if delta x is the distance on the x-axis, then the next guy over is 3 plus delta x. And of course that guy has a height value of f evaluated at 3 plus delta x. It's just that x value plugged into the function. That's how you get the height out. And so this purple line is going to be my secant line. And as delta x goes to 0, as we take the limit as delta x goes to 0, it'll become the equation for the tangent line. Okay, so what we want is we want the slope. And so the slope is the change in the y values, which is f at 3 plus delta x minus f at 3. That's the change in the y, divided by the change in the x values. Well, the change in the x values is delta x, but just do it out computationally, it'll be 3 plus delta x minus this value right here, which is 3. And so that's going to equal delta x. So let's go ahead and simplify that denominator a little bit. Again, 3 plus delta x minus 3 is just delta x. Now we've got to work out the numerator, so there's some computation going on there. So here comes the algebra. So we got to take 3 plus delta x and plug it into f. Okay, so that's going to be 3 plus delta x squared minus 2. Getting that from this function right here. And then we have to subtract off, well, let's just go ahead and evaluate that out. So 3 plus delta x times 3 plus delta x. You got to FOIL that guy. So it'll be 9 plus 6 delta x. Okay, plus delta x squared. Then minus the 2 still. Okay, so that is f at 3 plus delta x. And of course, f at 3 we already figured out up top. It was 3 squared minus 2, which is 7. So we've got that first guy, f at 3 plus delta x, which we came up with 9 plus 6 delta x plus delta x squared minus 2. And then we have to subtract off f at 3, which is 7. So we're subtracting off that guy right there. Of course, that whole thing's still over delta x. And so when we simplify, we've got 9, okay, plus the 6x, or excuse me, 6 delta x. Okay, so that just gives me 6 delta x plus delta x squared over delta x. Factor out delta x, we're just going to end up with 6 plus delta x. Now, if we take the limit as delta x goes to 0, basically pushing the 2 points closer and closer to each other, we just get 6 plus delta x equaling to just 6, because delta x is going to go towards 0. And 6 is the slope of the tangent line. So that tangent line up there that I drew before, that as for the secant, if I draw in a green line here that's exactly tangent, that guy has a slope value of 6. So now to figure out the equation of the line, if you use y equals mx plus b, We already have the m value, the x, and the y value. So the m value is 6. The y value comes from our original point, which was 7. The x value from the original point, which was 3. And now we're going to figure out the b value. So that's what we need. So this is just very simple computation here. So 7 is equal to 6 times 3 plus b. That's 18 plus b is equal to 7. And so that means b must be equal to -9. No, that's not right. -11, that should be. Okay, so switch that to -11 there at the end. Okay, I'm not going to change it there. Okay, but that's how you go ahead and you figure out those values. Now, in general, what does this guy look like? Well, let's say we didn't have 3, 7, but we just had some random x value. So here's our function again. So let's pick an arbitrary x value. We don't know what it is. Before we called it 3, now we're just calling it x. So that's the same as our 3 in our previous problem. So that's f of x is equal to x squared minus 2. Now we'll go over a little bit. We'll call this guy delta x. So this is x plus delta x a little bit. Okay, so that guy's got to be a height at that x value, which is f at x plus delta x. So now we just work out our computation here. Before it was a little bit easier because we had the number 3 plus delta x. Okay, so we're going to find this line. Now we've got to go ahead and do this computation out here for both of these. So f at x plus delta x minus f at x all over delta x. Right, that's that change here. So that's x plus delta x minus x. Again, we'll just work through the algebra. So what is f at x plus delta x? Well, that's x plus delta x squared minus 2. Then we've got to go ahead and subtract off f at x, which is just x squared minus 2. Okay, make sure we subtract out both pieces. So that's that right there. And then, of course, the denominator is x plus delta x minus x, which those cancel out, and you're just left with delta x. So what do we got? We got x squared plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared. Now I should have put a minus 2 in there, so, and then I subtracted off and then added here. Now I'm going to catch the mistake here, so I'm going to cancel those. But I forgot to put that minus 2 from right here, so that guy's got to go down here. So let's put the minus 2 in. So now the 2's cancel out. And what am I left with? I'm left with 2x delta x plus delta x squared over delta x. Factor out of delta x, you get 2x plus just delta x. Now, as we take the limits as delta x goes towards 0 of 2x plus delta x, that's going to be equal to just 2x. So here's the cool thing about that. That is for any x value that you pick. So it doesn't have to be just 3 that we picked above. So we grabbed 3 right here earlier. And if you plug 3 into that equation, 2 times 3, what do you know? It's equal to 6. That's the slope that we found before. But you could pick any value. So let's say we grabbed the point -4, and that comes out to be 14. Okay, so again, I'm doing this in my head quickly, but so the slope value at -4 is 2 times -4, which is -8. And that's all there is to it. Okay, so this right here is our in general formula for the slope of the tangent line. It only gives us a slope. We got to use our point still to find the equation. So good luck.